Welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Namibia, and we do apologize for that mishap there. As we continue off with the conversations this morning, the way social grants are delivered in Namibia is undergoing a historic transformation, and it is aimed at ensuring greater transparency, speed and financial inclusion. Now, the reform brings a modern approach to how grants reach the people who need them the most. With the Ministry of Finance now taking charge of grant payments, this reform will affect millions across 14 regions. And to help us understand what this means for everyday beneficiaries, we now speak to Mr. Albert Biwa, who is the Deputy Director in the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Biwa, a very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, and good morning to the listeners.
All right. To start off, can you perhaps briefly just explain why this reform to the social grant system was necessary and what key problems is it trying to solve?
Yeah, thank you. First and foremost, I should say that the President pronounced herself that her concern borders around the effective and efficient management of grants, as well as the service delivery of such grants to the beneficiary. And when we look at effective and efficient grants payment, we were looking at the current structure that is being used, and we were looking at the costs that were associated with the process. So what we currently are doing is to really look at the whole process and re-engineer it to the effect that the entire payment process from registration up to the actual payment is automated, and that process already started. Then we have looked at the cost aspect, and we have realized that the administrative cost for payment was on the higher end, and we wanted to introduce mechanisms to reduce that. What we have realized is that about 30% of all the payments are accorded to banks and non-post and institutions where the people are receiving their grants. And 70% is accorded to the cash payment. And then we realized that the cash payment was the one that was at the high end. And now our efforts are to progressively reduce the cash payments. And we are proposing now alternative payment methods.
Now, with the Ministry of Finance responsible for social grant payments, what will be the continued role of your ministry in supporting beneficiaries throughout this transition?
First and foremost would be the process of informing through awareness raising and advocacy. The second part is the ministry is trying to get everybody, we are desirous to get everybody to join the current trend in the banking industry, which is the digitalization. And our aim is to transform the entire payment process to follow the new product that will be introduced soon by Bank of Namibia called Instant Payment Solution that will bring about digitalized bank accounts. So the transition virtually is to see that development in terms of the banking industry is progressively expanded to the rural areas so that those in the rural areas can also be part of the banking industry, as opposed to the current situation where we serve them through a car and they are paid once in a month, and that is the story. So our transition is really to be inclusive in terms of access to the banking industry.
Right. Now, speaking of bank accounts and also just touching on those in the rural areas, I'm sure we do have those who do not have bank accounts at this point. What is the government doing with regards to that in order to support those who do not have bank accounts in order for them to have? What are some of the measures that are put in place?
Well, currently in the rural areas, what we do is a cash payment through the mobile units. What we want to do is to progressively eliminate the cash payment by mobile units in the rural areas. And we will start by introducing this banking system to those that are resident in the urban areas. Then we will branch out to settlements the larger villages and eventually try to get everybody on board. But you should also realize that this goes along with the development, the availability of electricity, the availability of network, and so on. But it is our aim to, at the end of the day, have everybody on board. But for now, those that are not covered and in places where the requisite infrastructure does not exist, we'll still serve them with the mobile units.
Right. Now, regional consultations are set to take place across all 14 regions from late July to late August. What should beneficiaries expect from these meetings, and why is it important that they attend?
Okay, during our consultation, we are just raising awareness and advocacy as to the reforms that are going to be introduced as it pertains to the payment of grants and allowances, social grants and allowances to our beneficiaries. And one of the areas that we place emphasis on is for beneficiaries to open the basic bank account, which is a bank account that is available at every commercial bank, which does not attract service fees, at least for 3 withdrawals and also for deposit. So our exercise that will cover the 14 regions is mainly for advocacy, to share with the people the reforms that are coming, what is expected of them, where to go, and also what documentation they would require in order to be assisted in the different payment systems that we are, or pay modes that we are going to introduce.
Right. Now, for those of our viewers who might not be able to attend the community meetings, how can they still stay informed and just get their assistance with the changes?
Okay, we are currently working with the different media processes, and information will be provided through radio, TV, as we are doing now, and also through social media. But above all, information will be available in the regional offices where people normally go and do their applications and subsequent changes. And so if they miss this informative session, they could still visit the regional offices, and the regional offices will update them and also assist them accordingly.
Mr. Biwa, perhaps before we let you go, how will this new system ultimately improve the dignity and security of the social grant beneficiaries in the long run?
So the emphasis is placed now in this instance on cash payment, where people are receiving money from the mobile units. Now, currently, the mobile unit only allows one withdrawal, and with that withdrawal, you have to take all your money. And that renders the person quite vulnerable towards robbing, people that may have fraudulent activities in terms of purchases that they make, and also the cash that they're carrying is a risk in itself for them. So that is what we're actually trying to address here. So beneficiaries in the long run will have opportunity to do 3 withdrawals without any charges. That means that they don't need to take all the money on payday. They can only take what is required for that day, and they have 2 more opportunities to withdraw in order to satisfy their needs. That will minimize the risk in carrying large amounts of cash, and that also will minimize the risk of robbery. So that is the issues that we are trying to address. And also, with respect to the ministry, we are trying to address the issue of proper record keeping, reconciliation, transparency, and efficient payment services. So that is what we are looking at currently.
Mr. Biwa, thank you so much for making time to talk to us this morning, and all the best. That is, of course, with the rollout of these regional consultations.
Have a good one. Thank you.
All right. Albert Biwa, who is the Deputy Director for Social Assistance in the Ministry of Finance, joining us this morning, talking to us about Namibia's new social grant system that will be rolled out in all 14 regions of Namibia, as regional consultations are set to take place in all 14 regions, starting, that is, of course, from late July until, that is, of course, late August. And the aim is to not leave anyone behind with this important information, seeing that it is affecting millions of Namibians.